those people that are not here this evening. All right, so overall, generally speaking, you actually did really well with your assignments, I must say. I think the marks are mostly above 60, which is really good. So it just means that you you kind of followed my guidelines, which is really nice because it really helps making marking a little bit easier. And otherwise, especially with philosophy, if you don't kind of, I know it's difficult to follow, like it's not a step-by-step kind of answer, but just like a general flow, then it's really difficult to find marks. So I want to say thank you to you all for that. I'm just going to make a few comments of things just to bear in mind when you hand in assignment 2. So my marking wasn't too strict. I think I was quite fair, but in cases where I really couldn't find content to give you marks, then obviously it was difficult. But if you gave me enough and I could see you kind of, I knew what you wanted to say, definitely gave you the benefit of the doubt. So if I can just point out a few things for assignment before you do assignment 2. So the first thing is, some of them are just logistical. And the first one is, please don't forget to PDF your document before you submit it. It's not a major issue if you submit a Word document. It's just an extra step for me because then I've got to open it up and then save it as a PDF and then upload it. So, when you're marking many assignments, then it just becomes very tedious. So please don't forget to put your document into PDF. And then if you can remember to do this, again, it's not a major stress. Oh, yes, good question, Zach. I'm not 100% sure. I uploaded the marks on Saturday, so they are all on the system. And I'm not too sure at what point they get unhidden. That is an ops function. I don't, that's not something I do. So I'm not too sure at what point they do that. I was hoping they would have done it by today. Oh, there you go. There you go. So they have probably done it. So yeah, you can just go into VC Learn and then you can get your marks. Now I know what you're all doing. Okay, so I'm just going to check under marks. Yes, thanks, Naval. Okay, so the other thing, when you save your file as a PDF document, please can I ask you to prefix it with your name. You don't have to do name and surname, just your name is fine. Again, it just helps my filing system. So because I download all your files at one time, and then I mark them, and then when I upload them, my list is in alphabetical order based on your name. So it just really, but really, that's not a major train smash. If you forget to do that, no problem, I will work around it, but if you can remember. So PDF and prefix the file name with your name. Then just bear in mind, and I didn't take off a lot of marks for this. I might have taken off 1 or 2, but don't put tables into academic essays. It's a different story if you are doing an analysis on an article or research or whatever, but not in an academic essay. So take basically, so take what's the content of the table and then just write it like a narrative. So no tables, and preferably also no headings. Although, look, you do need some headings. And some of your headings made a lot of sense and also helped with the marking. But some of your headings were the actual question with the mark allocation. So in other words, you took my guideline and which is fine for you to answer the question, but then maybe just go back afterwards and delete all of that. So academic writing, it must flow. There mustn't really be major headings and tables and things like that, if that makes sense. And then very, very few of you did this, and you'll see in the rubric where you get marks for style and structure, most of you did not get full marks there. Some of you did. There we go. Nobody's listening to me now. That's okay. It's being recorded. Please include conclusions. So most of you start off really well. You have this amazing introduction, and then you expand on it, and then you just end it. There's no conclusion. There's no concluding remarks at the end. And yeah, as I say, there's very few of you that got full marks for style and structure. So what I do with style and structure, 1 mark is always for conclusion, because nobody ever puts one in. 1 mark is how you've introduced your answer, and then the other mark is for, like, does your writing flow? Yeah, that makes sense. If you've used a lot of headings and tables and things like that, you probably use 1 mark there. Okay, then very NB, and there were quite a few of you who didn't read the instructions of your questions very well. I understand sometimes you're under pressure, under stress, or maybe you didn't listen to the recording of the how to write this assignment. But please be very careful when they ask you to select a philosophy or a approach or one issue, then please do so from the start. There were 2 things that happened here that weren't right. Firstly, some of you started off your answers by describing all of the approaches or all of the issues or whatever it was, and then you selected one and continued with your answer. Now that whole first part you're not going to get any marks for, because that's not what they asked you to do. The question asks you research on these various methods or various approaches, and then select one, and then you answer the question with that one method or one approach. So the reason why they do that is obviously because it's different kind of writing when you have to take one approach and apply it to a situation, because your thinking is going to be different. You've got to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more critical in your thinking. Whereas if you're just going to go with, well, both approaches actually suit higher education, so yeah, sure they do. But the question was select one, because I want to see how do you apply that one specific approach. So just be careful of that for assignment 2. If the question asks you to select one, then select one. Whether you really don't think this is it should not only be one, there should be more, whatever, that's not the point. Select one and then answer your question around that one, because in that it's also a skill to be able to do that instead of having this eclectic kind of approach. I hope that makes sense. Please, at any point, if I'm not making sense, just start talking. Okay, so, I'm not think you're being rude. Then and a few of you, and I get this, I'm also tend to be an rather like give too much information than too little. So be very careful of giving too much info. Again, that could count against you, because if the answer's in your textbook and you quote the entire textbook, then I have to find the answer. It's going to be there. But that does not show me that you have, that's good academic writing skill. So try to stick to, I would say, 1 sentence per mark, really. That's, unless it's a discussion, and unless, you can't make your point unless you've given context. That's different. But when it comes to, for example, 4 marks for the basic principles of realism, seriously, 4 sentences are more than enough. That's going to give you your 4 marks, provided, of course, you give me a fact per sentence. So be very careful of over typing. You're kind of wasting your time. I don't mind my time being wasted, but the thing is, sometimes it's a lot of reading, and by the time I get to the end of your paragraph or the end of your page, I've kind of forgotten where it's going. So just try and minimize your words a bit. I will never penalize you for it, though. You're not going to get any extra marks, basically. Then, another thing that a lot of you battled with, those of you who got it right, you got it right really well, is when the question asks you to apply a particular philosophy to a particular situation with examples, then the idea is to actually give an example of what this is going to look like in your lecture room or in your classroom. So if you're telling me that, oh gee, I can't even think of one, that idealism, the principle of idealism is that you everything kind of exists in ideas. The reality is in ideas, etc., etc. Give me an example in your lecture room. If you, for example, you're a fashion designer, then tell me, that you would incorporate, the designing of a new kind of like fashion or style. That would be based on idealism, because you're sitting with this beautiful picture in your mind, and then you've got to put it on paper. So practical. What does it look like in your lecture room? That's what practical examples mean. Then the question with the lesson plan. You guys wrote the most beautiful, amazing lessons. Oh my word. When I started marking them, I was really enjoying them. But then towards the end, it's like, I really don't have time to read every single one all the way. The idea for that lesson plan was literally to give me a slice of your lesson and not the entire lesson. And that slice of the lesson had to show me that you understand the method of inquiry. So 90% of you chose the Socratic method. So what I wanted to see was the slice of your lesson plan. So you could just have said to me, the lesson is about, let's go back to fashion. Sorry, Anel. I don't even think you're on the, no, you're not here tonight. But anyway, Anel is a fashion designer. So let's say you say to your students, okay, let's come up with a design for something. And the student gives you a design. Then in the Socratic method, you're going to say, what is your reason for making this garment with such big collars? And then maybe the student says something like, I don't know, gee, I'm like really thumb sucking here, but it makes one's shoulders look bigger. So what is it about women, or men for that matter, it doesn't really matter. What is it about it? Why are you wanting their shoulders to be bigger or look bigger? Then, the person say, well, to me, that's kind of aesthetically pleasing. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to see that. I wanted to see the actual conversation between you and the student, so that I could, obviously all fictitious. So you gave me beautiful lesson plans, but somewhere with a little throwaway line in the middle of your lesson plan, you said, use the Socratic method to question your students. That doesn't give me any clue that you know what you're talking about. Or those of you who use the method of Plato's guided method, okay, so divide my students into groups, and then we would use Plato's guided method with it amongst each other to facilitate. That doesn't explain to me or show me that you understand the method. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. So, yeah, so with something like that, I wanted to see that you understood Socratic. It's very easy to put in a lesson plan. Use the Socratic method. What does that mean? I don't know if you know what that means. You've just put the actual term in there. It could be anything, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that's another thing. Then just a bit of an in-house logistical thing. Please remember that if you upload the second time, a second attempt, it deletes the first one. No, okay, let me rephrase. It doesn't delete it, but it doesn't come up for me for marking. So when I mark the very last upload or the very last attempt. So I don't know if it's in this group. It might have been in the other group that I lecture, but one or two, no, it was actually two people. They uploaded a second time because they'd forgotten to include the last question or one of the questions. And then what happened was the first attempt doesn't appear for marking. So only the last one. And so there was only one question. So please just keep that in mind, that if you do upload a second time, to upload everything again, not just what was missing. Then a few of you would have seen that you got 5% deducted for referencing techniques. I wasn't very strict. I did a quick check through your whole document, and if it was mistakes that you were continually making, in other words, you really, you don't have that skill quite taped yet, then I took off 5%. And I would encourage you to actually, before you hand in your next assignment, actually go and find out what it is that you did wrong. You might know already, but contact an information specialist. I know they often they put on VC Learn when they're having sessions, and find out. It's minor technical things. It's not major things, but it's going to keep costing you 5%. So go and sort that out. And that's my feedback. Other than that, as I say, I was really impressed. I could see those of you who really took note of the guidelines. You were intentional about how you answered your questions, and it really was not. It was actually quite nice marking. So I have to just say thank you to you. Okay, so before I carry on with tonight's session, is there any comment or question or any problem that any of you want to raise with regard to the first assignment? No? Are you all good? Okay, no, absolute pleasure, Zach. I mean, I do want you to pass, and I want you to do well. So, but if and again, I think our next, I think it's next week, isn't it? The next session for the next assignment. Well, the weeks are going too quickly now, but I think it's next week. Let me just make 100% sure. Tonight is the 22nd. Yes, next week, Monday, is our next assignment information kind of like guideline. And that's for your assignment that's due on the 9th of May. So that's going to happen next week, Monday night. But I will put a reminder in the announcements on VC Learn. It's a pleasure, Lisimelo. It's an absolute pleasure. And then also your last ICE task, which is, well, guideline. It's due on the 5th, but at the end of the day, all the ICE tasks are the ICE tasks are due 25 May. So so if you can have them all done by then, I will upload the 4th one this week. So that you can work on that so long. So the final deadline due date for all the ICE is on 25 May. I have to have them uploaded, all of them uploaded on the 27th. So just to give me a day or two just to get them all together. Okay, and then as I said, the next guidance kind of session or help session or national support session, I think they call them, will then be Monday night for your second assignment. That is due on the 9th. Right. I know. It's crazy. Well, if you think we've got 2 more learning units. I mean, after tonight, we really only have 4 actual sessions. So I know it's now going really quickly, and it's busy. I know you guys have got your research that you're also thinking of and trying to sort out. So I realize it gets a bit hectic. Okay, so for tonight, the learning unit that we're going to be looking at is the first theme of Learning Unit 5, which has to do with transformative education. And it also looks at critical or transformative pedagogy, critical pedagogy, all those kind of terminology things. So what we're going to do first, and again, okay, there's 5 of you, maybe you can just form your own breakaway group. So first of all is we're going to take a look at what is transformative pedagogy. So what does it mean? And then I'm going to get you to tell me, or to research quickly on your phone or wherever. Then you could give me some key characteristics of transformative pedagogy. But if you just look at that term, transformative pedagogy, any idea as to what you think it could mean, you're welcome to type. You don't have to speak, but if you want to speak, you definitely can speak. Yes, it could be from one level to the next. It could mean that. Yeah. So what? Okay, let's first look at the word pedagogy. Anybody want to tell me what they understand pedagogy to mean? No, nobody knows what. I don't want to take a shot at pedagogy. Basically, pedagogy, yes, exactly that. It's the theory and the practice of education. So it's everything to do with education. A lot of people seem to think that, yeah, theory and practice of teaching. Well done. Thank you, Zach. A lot of people seem to think it's your practice, your teaching practice, but it's more than that. It's everything. It's who you are as a teacher, lecturer. It's your philosophy. It's your methodology. It's your strategies in classroom, your classroom management, your teaching style, assessments, curriculum. It's really everything to do with teaching. That is your pedagogy, or that is pedagogy. So if we talk about transformative, what do you understand by the word transformative? If I say, we're going to transform something. Yes, change, Nicole, exactly, change. And it's not change necessarily like opposite. So it's not like uh, going in the opposite direction, or thank you, Zach. Yes, change in the way the students think, understand, and behave. So it's it's transforming something that is there into something that's better. Does that make sense? So it's not um, it's not opposite. It's not change opposite, or going in the different direction, or being different. It's taking what is there, the potential of what is there, and just transforming it into full potential, or change. Okay, so that's exactly so. Transformative pedagogy is then changing um, everything about teaching, theory and practice. And if you think about South Africa, then that is exactly what we are needing. So, just a brief definition: it's an approach to learning that aims to catalyze um, personal, social, and systemic changes. So it goes beyond simply acquiring knowledge, and empowers learners to critically examine existing beliefs. So there's action involved with transformative pedagogy, um, action and change, and sort of an intentional that we will make this better kind of approach. So now what I'm going to ask you to do now, I'm going to give you like maybe 5 minutes or so, and you're welcome to use Google or ChatGPT or whatever it is you have on your phone or your laptop. But if I said to you transformative pedagogy in South Africa, if that is something that we need to be aiming towards, what do you think would be the key characteristics of that? What do you think? What characteristics do you think we would need to incorporate or include in order to transform our educational system? And what you could do, if you look on the top of your screen, there is a text box. If you click that, then you can actually write on the slide. So even if you just want to give me keywords of what you think transformative pedagogy, what the characteristics are of that, you can just type them on the screen. Yes, well done. Personal experience, absolutely. Empowering learners. Critical reflection, well done. Mr. Mello, yeah, good question. Good question. I think yeah, just education in general, but I mean, we could look at higher education. We could make it more applicable to higher education. Definitely social change, definitely lifelong learning. These are all very good characteristics of transformative pedagogy. I'll give you a chance for one or two more. Action orientated, yes, well done. Definitely action orientated. It's not passive bank education, sitting learning and just, you know, absorbing whatever the lecturer says, but it's being involved in your learning. And another one, there was another, yeah, social change, yes. So all of these are most definitely key characteristics of transformative pedagogy. So if we look at personal experience, I think personal experience and action oriented are very similar, very close. But it's basically, it's not the learner kind of just absorbing. It's the learner who's being encouraged or supported to question and to take part and to experience the learning for themselves, and not just take, whatever the lecturer says, okay, that's just how it should be. Bronwyn says decolonization, acknowledging and challenging the legacy of colonialism in education. Yes, very big key characteristic that, Bronwyn, definitely in relation to South African education. So, I mean, yeah, decolonization is almost at the core of our transformation, and we definitely have to start looking at our bias in everything, the way we teach, in our curriculum. Another one here, another key characteristic would also be dialogue, which is really important, which basically comes down to kind of like branches of decolonizing, bias, etc. Because if we're not going to be having dialogue and talking to our students, to one another, and and seeing where the issues are, where the kind of like misunderstandings are, then we're also not going to be able to transform our pedagogy. So yes, empowering learners, most definitely. We cannot, yeah, we need the learners and our students to also to be able to critically engage with society's injustices and bias, etc., etc. Otherwise, they were just going to keep repeating the mistakes that we've made. And then lifelong learning, most definitely. I think, when I was at school, lifelong learning was really not a thing. You just studied to get to the next grade, and then you studied to get to university, and then you got your degree. That was it. You were done. So yeah, definitely lifelong learning. We have to encourage our students to be continually wanting to know more, wanting to, just look at things from different perspectives and different angles. Critical reflection, a degree these days feels insufficient. Yes, Naval, I totally agree with you. Completely agree with you. And I think this is why our students are battling so much, because our degrees are still too theoretical and too paper-based, textbook-based. So yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Critical reflection, yes, definitely, because we can only grow and develop if we are able to critically reflect on what we're doing and how we're doing it, especially with our teaching methods and strategies. And that's definitely a part of transformative pedagogies. And also to teach our students that, to reflect on their own kind of like thinking and assumptions, so that they can critically unpack where it's coming from, where some of their beliefs come from. Okay, so those are definitely good characteristics of transformative pedagogy. Now what I'm going to ask us to do is, we're not going to have breakaway groups, but if we take a look at the three big categories of philosophy that we've looked at this semester, we looked at the classical philosophies, realism and idealism. We looked at 20th century philosophies, like the normative ones, and the essentialism and perennialism, and goodness, I can't remember all the other isms. My brain is fried for a Monday night. And we look at the African philosophy. If we take those three major groups of philosophies that we had a look at, what I want us to do is to just look at how each of these can influence us or influence our move towards transforming our pedagogy. So in other words, if our aim is to create these transformative spaces where we are wanting change and we're wanting things to be different, how would the classical philosophies influence that? Does it make sense what I'm asking? So let's think about that. And then again, you're welcome to just write on the slide word keywords here and there. And yeah, so think about, how do you think classical philosophies have had an influence on the creation of transformative spaces, and we can focus just on higher education. I think that definitely makes sense. Yeah, so to develop these transformative spaces or transformative pedagogies, how have the classical philosophies influenced that? I mean, I'm gonna just give you a hint or a clue, but think of the Socratic method. How does that assist you in transformative pedagogies? No? Have I lost you guys? I think it's always bad to have a lecture on a Monday night. Although Friday nights are probably just as bad. But I mean, yeah, look, there's not a lot, but Yes, thank you, Zach. Well done. So, Socratic method encourages a student to think critically, to kind of like unpack their assumptions and their bias and their, um, how did they get to where they are? How did they get to believe or think the way they're thinking? So that definitely encourages critical thinking, which is a big component of transformative pedagogy. And also, if we think of Plato, with his, I mean, he was more, idealism's pursuit of truth and beauty. And I think Plato and idealism, I think there was a lot of reflection, self-reflection in that kind of philosophy where you would just contemplate and reflect and think and, yeah, where am I going with this? What is going on in my idea world? Um, so yes, yeah, Socratic questioning, definitely transformative pedagogy because you're challenging assumptions. Oh goodness, assumptions. Well done. Yes, and Aristotle. Well done. And now, now you're in the class. Welcome. We were talking about your fashion designing earlier. So yes, knowledge through experience. Exactly. Well done. And that is most definitely a big transformative pedagogy characteristic. The whole learn through experience. So well done. I think those are the three top ones anyway. We didn't really do any of the other classical philosophies. So yeah, you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. Then if we have a look at 20th century philosophies and any of their principles or core elements that you think we could apply to or we could use to transform our pedagogy. Remember the 20th century we did pragmatism and we did existentialism, constructivism. Gee, I've got such a blank. I do a very similar module with the Bachelor of Education students, but they don't do the same philosophy. So I found myself the other day talking to them about a philosophy that I'd done with the online students, and it wasn't part of their module content, and they were looked at me very blankly. So I'm probably doing the same now. But we did do pragmatism, I think, and we did do critical theory, existentialism. I don't know if we did postmodernism, but those are your 20th century, the normative philosophies like perennialism and essentialism. Those. What do you anything that you can think of that they contribute to assisting with transformative pedagogies? Yes, well done, Zach. Pragmatism was one of its core elements was experiential learning, inquiry-based learning. So well done. Yes, so pragmatism definitely adds that to transformative pedagogy. Um, yes, work integrated learning. Well done, Anel. Yes, that's definitely all from the pragmatist approach, philosophical approach. Anything that you can think of what was existentialism maybe? Anything there that you think would fit in well with transformative pedagogy? Integrates critical theory encourages yes, well done, well done. Yeah, so critical theory encourages analyzing and critically kind of like um, what's the word? Critically and then never mind. But you've used critical question, which is exactly that, challenging the status quo, having a look at structures, oppressive structures, maybe power dynamics, that kind of thing. So that's all part of critical theory. Well done, Anal. That is definitely assisting or influencing transformative pedagogy. Goodness, Anel's on a roll here. Existentialism, the focus on, yes, authenticity. That's what I was looking for. Well done. So the authenticity of existentialism fits in very well with transformative pedagogy. And what other philosophy did we do? Social constructivism, progressivism. Oh, there we go. Well, you remember, I forgot about progressivism. Seeks to create a learning environment that is dynamic. Well done. Yes, action oriented. Yo, you guys are on a roll here. Okay, well done. Well done, well done. That's exactly what I wanted. Yes. So creating a learning environment that's action oriented. And did we do constructivism? No, I think we did. What did we do for student-centered? That was one of the normative. Yes, we did. Constructive, I thought so. Okay. So what would you say in constructivism? What would that, how would that influence transformative pedagogy? Yeah, well done. My word. Have you swallowed the dictionary? No. Yes. So it's again, it's encouraging your students to become active in their own learning and to construct their own knowledge. And that is really another thing of transformative pedagogy. It's not about them absorbing like a sponge what you're telling them, but they're constructing their own knowledge as they go along based on their experiences. And it's also about collaboration and as you say, reflection. Well done. Okay, you guys have got this. You're on a roll. You're on a roll. Right, the last one. Oh, did you do it in TLHE? Oh, yeah. You see, there's so much overlap with these modules, and it doesn't help to be the module that I'm doing on the B.Ed is called Foundation. No, it's called Professional Ethics. So it's about educator ethics, but there's so much philosophy in it as well, obviously, because ethics is a branch of philosophy. So it just becomes really complicated. But yes, okay, so that is social interaction, collaboration, and that's all part of learning and constructing your own knowledge. Okay, then the last one, if we had a look at, yes, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And the thing is, at the end of the day, you're going to see these philosophies. They're not all the same. I mean, you guys have clearly highlighted, distinct differences. But sometimes if you go deeper and deeper into these philosophies, they kind of just all blur into one. So, really. But anyway, it's kept these people busy, philosophers, made them feel they're important. If we look at African philosophy, how do you think African philosophy, this is, I think the characteristics here are going to be totally different, but how the principles of African philosophy, how can they influence a transformative education in South Africa? Yes, African philosophy, definitely. Ubuntu philosophy is a branch of African philosophy. If we look at Ubuntu influence transformative pedagogy by promoting learning, yes, collaborative learning, and values, and reflecting on your values and understanding what they are. And yeah, that whole collaboration community is important. That's definitely more transformative in our pedagogy than I mean, if you really think about the Western education, it's so individualistic and so competitive, and whereas African philosophy encourages community and collaboration, which would definitely be transformative. And also community-based learning, yes. Holistic perspective and the importance of cultural context, yes, yes. And that is very transformative, because dominant Western cultures, Western philosophy, there is no recognition of any other cultural context. So, very important point. Empower students to become socially responsible and culturally aware. Yes, and that socially responsible is also a very key. Is also a key characteristic of transformative pedagogy. Gina, you're really understanding this. Is there anything else about African philosophy? Because we've got the whole community Ubuntu, we've got holisticness, wholeness. Might be wrong, the African philosophy is based in Ubuntu, so that means that transforming our space to align with our values. Yes, very important. Students work together to achieve one goal and being aware of their surroundings. Very important. And it's together but yet respecting diversity. So yes, you make a very good point there, Lisa Melo. Thank you. Cultural relevance, Bronwyn, thank you very much. Yes, cultural relevance. Oh, very good question. Very good question, Anal. Specific fathers of African philosophy. Yo, I have not actually. No, there is one guy. Hang on. Ah, his name is not very common. Give me a sec. I remember. Okay, Google. That's probably the best. Oh man, there is one guy, but it's not like Plato, Aristotle and Freya and Kierkegaard. I can never pronounce that guy's name correctly, but it's not like one. But there is a name. Naval says African philosophy encourages empowerment for the individual, which leads to empowering communities. Yes, seeks to encourage students to become active participants in their learning journey to be able to bring about positive changes. Yes, agents of change. Well done. That's definitely African philosophy. Agents of change. Well done. And Zach says, again, from Ubuntu, it creates respectful, nurturing educational environments that value individual contributions. Well done. Another very good point. Yes, it's not about the sage on the stage. It's not about the lecturer being the only value or the only contributing value. It's about everybody contributing. Well done, guys. Brilliant. And now, do we have a name yet? Oh, man, I wish I could remember. Adira Aruka.
So there's quite a few names when I press Google, so I'll probably have to go through many sources, just because some says that it's like an Egyptian guy, then there's Augustine, Maynard, many names appearing, but I'll have to go through them to see which one is the correct one, or like the credited person.
Yeah, that's why I'm very hesitant to say that there is actually one. I think African philosophy has become such a kind of like amalgamation of just so much going to, I suppose, just like all the different cultures that we have. But okay, thanks for that, Anal. I'll definitely go and have a look at that. Yeah, none of those names, Lisa Miller, ring a bell to me. That's why I say I don't think I've ever actually heard one specific name. It's always, reading different authors and different kind of like articles. But yeah, good question. Very good question. Definitely something to go and look up and research. You guys can, let's see who can come up with some more information about that. Okay, so you've pretty much got what I wanted to do. I just wanted us to have a look at our three main groups of philosophies. Buddha, of course, that was one of the forefathers. Yeah, that name does ring a bell. That definitely rings a vague bell in the back of my head somewhere. I'm definitely going to go look that up, though, Lisa Mello. You might be right. He might be one of the main ones. That's why I don't think African philosophy is a credit to any one kind of specific person. I think it's just, I think it all just came about at a time where we so desperately were looking for alternatives to the dominant Western way of doing things. I think, there were just a lot of voices at that time. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to actually take that further. So thanks for that question. Got us all thinking. The other thing just to mention about African philosophy is obviously, of course, the indigenous knowledge system, which is also something that is transformative. It's no longer just, the Western knowledge system, European way of doing things, but yeah, there's also an indigenous one specifically to us. Okay, so then the last thing, and we haven't got much time left, but the last thing really that I wanted to look at was maybe we should look at this next week. Just like if you, at the top of your head, can you think of what are the current epistemological foundations of our education system? What does epistemological mean again? I know you guys know, but I know it's Monday night. But basically, it's how we know what we know. So it's the way that we've constructed our knowledge. So if we were to look at the current education system in South Africa, let's, maybe it's not completely there yet, but what do you think the changes are? What do you think about let me rephrase this. What is happening in South African education that is changing the way we know what we know? Does that make sense? There's one big word. We've actually used it already tonight. Somebody came up with it, and I kind of mentioned something else. Yes, inclusivity, definitely that is a big game changer for South African education, and through that, through inclusivity, we are what's the word? I had it, but our education system has become a lot more interdisciplinary. It's not so discipline focused. It's more spread out and integrated. So, and that is because of inclusivity. And the other big thing, of course, is decolonization. So we're trying to move away from the kind of colonial, Western dominant, European dominant kind of like way of doing things, and to focus more on, yeah, how we would, Africa would do things. So yes, that, and obviously our indigenous knowledge system and all of those things are just different. We change the introduction of technology. Yes, the classroom, that definitely one of our I think better, more positive changes, and that is definitely encouraging our students to become authors or co-constructors of their own knowledge system, of how they know what they know, because they are allowed to take ownership. They are allowed to go and discover it for themselves. And one of the methods is definitely flipped classroom. Thanks, Noel. Thanks for that. And I think that's pretty much, yeah. I think the only other thing I wanted to still do tonight was critical pedagogy, but we can touch on this next week. It's kind of, I mean, critical pedagogy and transformative pedagogy is pretty much the same thing. In media, I think we also focus on feminist epistemology, importance of diverse voices. Yes, experience the ways of knowing. So yes, inclusivity and diversity, definitely. That is also two key foundations of our educational system at the moment. That wasn't like that in the past, definitely not. So thanks for that, Anil. Yeah, so critical pedagogy is really just unpacking and what's the word? Oh, my goodness, I've lost all my words tonight. Questioning or challenging power dynamics, different structures within the educational system. So yeah, it's basically same as transformative pedagogy, but it's just the way in which it is done. So if we look at the key principles that contribute to the transformative potential of crypto, yeah, it's all pretty much the same thing. So didn't want to confuse you. But another change, I believe, connecting the curriculum to real world issues, more engaged. Yes, that's also linked to critical pedagogy. You're quite right, and most definitely not part of pre 1994 epistemological foundation. So yeah, well done. That is another key change or a key foundation that is different. So critical pedagogy really just contributes to this whole transformation or transforming our education because it looks to empower our students and educators by making them critical thinkers, making them or fostering, not making them, but fostering them to become critical thinkers, encouraging them and facilitating that they become engaged and active in what is going on. They're not just passively involved and passively receiving information. And that education is more relevant, and that is what Anel's also meaning with the real world issues. So that it's not always pie in the sky theory, but that education is a lot more relevant. There's a lot more focus on social justice and of course on transformation. So that pretty much is what this first learning unit is about, the first theme of learning unit 5. Transformative pedagogy, critical pedagogy. It's really just, I suppose, ruffling the feathers and shaking everything up and letting all the non-important stuff kind of like disappear and then just focus on what is important in education. Unrelated question. No, unfortunately, I don't lecture on this program in the second semester. So no, I will not be part of your second semester journey. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but anyway, what we do need to do, request, what we do need to do though, and I should have actually warned you this well, maybe not, but I'm going to tell you now. At our last live collab, which is going to be when the 3rd of June, right? We are going to put our cameras on, okay, and we're just going to just have like a little farewell goodbye, but at least we get to see everybody. That's hilarious. Fourth stage of grief. Oh my word, that is very funny, Naval. That is seriously funny. No, but you will still keep contact, right? I don't even know what your second semester modules are. I don't think I've actually ever looked at them because second semester I normally do quite a lot of lecturing on the campus, so I tend not to put my hand up for online. Curriculum design. Oh, really? Is that one of your modules? Okay, that could be quite an interesting module. Thing is, the online lecturers they hold on to their modules because 90% of us really enjoy it. It is nice. I mean, it's far better than on campus face to face. Curriculum studies and the TLO, yeah, your research. Have you all made contact with your supervisors? Do you all know who they are? I'm assuming you have, because yeah, I suppose you would have had to start your proposals and things by now. Okay. Well, that is all great. Bronwyn, is your supervisor Dulette? Okay, I thought so. I'll tell you why, because I was going to supervise you, but then my workload just escalated so crazy. And then she stepped in and said she would. So I was just wondering if that, she is lovely. She's very nice. She's very good. So you're in good hands there. Okay. Anything else for clarification on anything, or you guys all, you're okay? So next week will be a recording again. Yes, of course, task 1 is around the corner. Yeah, no, that's funny. You're all in good hands. I know all the supervisors on your program, and they're all amazing. They really are, and they're incredibly passionate about what they're doing. They will go to the ends to help you. So, yeah, please tap into their expertise and their passion. They will definitely assist you. So next week will be then a recording, but also on Monday night there will be a live support session for your assignment 2. So I might not upload next week's on Monday night. I might do it on Tuesday unless I get to do it on the Sunday. But if it's not on Monday, it'll definitely then be Sunday. But we'll have a live session again on Monday, which will then be your guidance support for assignment 2. Right. Absolute pleasure. So, yeah, it's been, but we definitely in the 3rd of June, it's cameras on, right? I haven't got a clue. I could walk right over you guys in the road. I wouldn't even notice you. But have a good evening and go and enjoy your supper. Have a glass of wine and chill. And we will chat next week, Monday. Thank you, everyone. Bye.